I'd like to thank the Process Art Discovery audience for joining me today. I'm Lynda Norman. I'm a watercolor artist in the beautiful province of British Columbia. Today we're going to play around with some cotton top cellulose paper, new product for me, some fumui brushes with beautiful tips points, and some granulating paint. Put them all together and see what happens if we try to create a vignette. Why Lua? Why not? This is cotton topped watercolor pad. So the base of it is cellulose cotton top, which is really a fascinating concept for me. I've been using my Daniel Smith granulating paints quite a bit recently and enjoying them a lot. Really a fascinating medium, or a portion of the watercolor medium to me. I love the granulation, how they break apart, the different pigments settle at different times, creating really beautiful effects. So let's get that going. This is not a block, it's a pad. I've tried a couple of pages just putting big washes on, and it really held up nicely. So I don't think I'm even going to tape this off. I brought the tape, but I think I'm just going to leave it and not spend time with the taping portion of things. These are my Daniel Smith granulating set that I have. There's Lunar Blue, Lunar Violet. I'm going to think about the other ones. Lunar Red Earth, and I put some tiger's eye in here and some serpentine. Must be serpentine, that sounds better. And some Chinese white. The white really helps to enhance the granulation sometimes. And so I lied, it wasn't violet there, that's lunar blue. So lunar black, lunar blue, lunar violet, lunar red earth, tiger's eye, serpentine, and Chinese white. And those I think will be a really interesting combination. The serpentine, good grief, is quite beautiful and bright, whereas in my other vignettes, when I use my other Daniel Smith paints, I often go to the quinacridone gold or the quinacridone rose to give me that pop of color. So I'm hoping the serpentine, see, I guess that's going to be it, serpentine, because that's the way it comes out. I'm hoping that that's going to give me the same pop of color that I need. So, as with all vignettes that I do, I've got my little sprayer, the adjustable kind. If you get the kind that just goes on and off, you don't have the opportunity sometimes to control those water droplets. And I really just want the drops to come out of the sprayer and just kind of plop onto the page. And I have been sometimes in the past guilty of not putting enough on the page because they do tend to dry. So I'm going to make sure I've got lots. I don't have to use them all. I don't want so many that they're going to blend together and make big puddles. So I want to be careful about that. And I've woken my paints. They look like they're pretty juicy. I think for this, I really want those paints to be thick and rich and easily picked up by the tip of this brush. Now these brushes have quite a nice belly on them, so they will, if you dip them into the paint all the way up, they will suck up a lot of paint and hold that. I'm not sure we need quite that much. And I think this brush might be a little large. This is a number 20. Extended point is what they call it. And I think that might be, for this, probably a little large. I can see this maybe would be, if you paint florals, I can see where this one might be quite interested for those big petals. And that's something I think I'm going to work on one of these days soon. I've got it in my head, I want to paint some peonies, one of my favorite flowers. So, all right, so I've let that sort of sit there for a little bit. And let's start with, I think I want to start with the lunar blue. The lunar black is pretty intense. I might use the black down if I decide to do something flowing off the bottom of the page, some rocks or cliffs or something. But I think I'm going to try the lunar blue. And I'm just thinking, so this is, it's picking it up on the end, pulling it back a little bit. I'm not sure I've got enough in there, but let's see what happens. All right. I'm going to start at this side of the page because I typically do that. And let's see what these granulating paints do in these little droplets of water. The tendency for a lot of people, and we all appreciate things differently, and the trees I notice have branches that, you know, typically go straight out or sort of hang down a bit. But a lot of people that I've painted with, students and friends as well, see the branches go up this way. I'm not sure what those kind of trees would be, but for my eye, it's kind of the straight out, and I like to keep, oh my goodness, I like to keep my branches a little bit off-centered. And here I've made another mark, so that actually can be another tree trunk coming up. We'll make a tree come up this way a tiny bit maybe. And we're just going to touch those little droplets. So I'm seeing now that with this little brush and these granulating paints, they're not moving as quickly as I thought they might. I'm going to take the brush now, I'm going to rinse it. It's going to be quite wet. I think what I'll do is I'll just touch it on the paper towel, just so it's not dripping. And I'm going to lay the brush and roll it into the paint so that the belly of the brush now has paint in it. Let's see if that makes things flow and travel a little bit better. See how long this this keeps us moving here on the. So the granulating paints are starting to move out. I can see a tiny bit of that happening. I'm finding sometimes the ones that aren't made to granulate quite so heavily maybe are more reactive on the page. I don't know. But we shall see. Time will tell. All right, let's just get these guys moving along. Done a little bit of observing there. And I was thinking that let's try a little bit of heavier application with the brush just for some bigger portions of trees, and that can work as well, right? And let's try a little bit. Of course, with granulating paints too, they continue to do their magic as they dry and move through the water, right? So we will, I think I just need to add a bit more to the page perhaps. And define a couple of points. I love how the paper is holding the pigment and allowing it to sit in certain spots. And of course the pigment itself is going to want to do its own little bit of magic here. I want to just bring this down, making sure I've got lots of pigment in that water. And then let's try the lunar violet. Lunar violet, yeah. And oh, that's pretty. The way it's subtle, but it's dissipating through what's already on the page. And I think what I'm going to do, rather than create a bunch of new trees with the lunar violet, I'm just going to enhance the ones that are there. So it'll give them another level of depth. And I'm finding that this heavier pigment is not flowing through this brush as quickly as I thought it would, which is kind of interesting. And whoops, right back into the blue. Well, I guess it's meant to be. Let's put another blue. It's actually blue and purple because I didn't clean my brush off between, because I really thought I was going back into the violet. All right, there, that's We'll put this other little tree out here, back into the violet, and just add a little bit of that to those drops. Very interesting how, how that granulation does happen. You can see it happening down on the bottom here. So I think what I'm going to do is just with the side of the brush, very full load, I'm going to add a bit of that. I'm going to tip the page up in a moment. Before I do that, do I want another color? Well, I said we were going to do the serpentine, so let's do that. And let's see if we can just a little here and there. We don't need a lot. Maybe, oh, that's a lot. As I say, we don't need a lot. Isn't that the way it goes? But we don't need it in a lot of places. How about that? And then just for fun, we'll put a couple of dabs into that rocky area. And then because from the play that I've done in the past, I know that the Chinese white, and I'm sure titanium white, which is another option for white watercolor, which in the past apparently has been definitely taboo, and I think if you're a purist, probably still is. Whites and blacks are not considered the way to go. But and there's also a P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, which I find to be a little bit on the opaque side sometimes. But this Chinese white added to the pigmentation. Oh goodness! See, there we go. That's what we want. And I'm going to stand it up and just watch how that. Now my brush is just full of nice water, and I'm going to allow the pigment, because it's granulating, I'm not going to worry about putting droplets on the bottom here. I think just the water itself is enough to allow the granulation to happen. And I don't know if that's quite the right angle for everyone to see, but let's work with that. And add a bit more white. The white really does enhance the granulation portion of things. And then on top of that white with a full load of lunar blue, just here and there. You know what I want to do? You can see that. Squeeze out what's in my brush. There. And just let that happen. Now, if we wanted to get, really crazy and try a bunch of other effects, we could try the, the saran plastic wrap on the bottom to add another effect. People can find sometimes good result using salt. I prefer not to use salt on my paintings. I think we have enough tricks and techniques that, if you use those things, sometimes it's the technique that shows up rather than the painting itself. People see that more. But I think this is really, really quite fun. Now, the lunar black is an interesting color, and if I just use that just to define maybe that little bit of, it's not a shoreline, it's a horizon. It's where the trees hit the ground, right? And quick and simple. It's another version of a vignette, and I think with some fine tuning, with some more play, we could really make some fun things happen here. Now I've touched that with my brush. I thought it was clean, so I'm just going to make this little rocky part here a little more pronounced. It's a cliff. It's a cliff. This brush is holding a ton of that pigment, which I wasn't really expecting, so we'll just get rid of some of it on the page here. I think the Lunar Black is absolutely my favorite out of all of them. And I think I mentioned before, if you want to watch granulating paints at their most exquisite, Nicholas Lopez is an artist who does amazing things with them. I'm actually going to be seeing him in Calgary, Alberta, in August. He's doing a workshop. They're having a International Watercolor Festival in Calgary, and that's going to be a fun time. All right, so I think, I mean, I could stay here all day adding pigment and letting things move and run, but I just love what's happening on the page with the granulation. The addition of that Chinese white to me is really where the magic happens. And if you have granulating paints, if you're going to get granulating paints, there are just, I think the possibilities are quite endless. And I just love to play. And that's what it's all about. I'd mentioned, I think in a previous video, that our relationship with our creativity, no matter what that is so important. And as I said, sometimes it can be like a gentle friend. Sometimes it can be very exciting and motivating. And the more we can share with each other, the more fun we can have with it, I think. And I do appreciate all of you for weighing in your comments. I'm sorry if I haven't got back to you yet. There are so many positive comments and lovely feedback, and I feel like my circle has grown worldwide. And I'll tell you, that means more than anything to me. And it's because we can share these beautiful times together. I'd like to thank the Process Art Discovery audience for joining me today. I'm really glad you were here with me, having some fun again with our watercolors. If you like what you've seen, please subscribe to the channel or visit the members area.